Okay, Wednesday night breaking news. It is 11 o'clock here on the East Coast. On the eve of opening day for the NFL, the 49ers and Jauan Jennings have reached an agreement on a reworked deal that will add $3 million in playtime incentives to Jennings' contract. So now instead of Jennings earning $7.5 million this season, he can earn up to $10.5 million with these added incentives to his current contract. So obviously, this thing has been back and forth all off season, all training camp, all preseason. I mean, this has been an ongoing thing for multiple months. Obviously, we knew about the calf injury. A lot of people, I think, just kind of jumped to conclusion and assumed that Jennings didn't really get a calf injury and that he was basically holding out due to these contract issues. I don't know the truth to that. I'm not going to say that's not true, but I'm not going to say it's true. Um, you know, who knows what really happened with him holding out? It is a little weird that he returned to practice, yesterday? And, fast forward, a little over 24 hours later, and Jennings and the Niners reach a deal on a reworked contract. Who knows what happened? Uh, who knows what really transpired, with that situation? But it doesn't matter. Jauan Jennings and the Niners have reached an agreement on a deal, and Jauan Jennings will in fact play versus the Seahawks week 1, which Kyle Shanahan announced earlier today during his press conference. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, he comes back to practice, he daps up John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. I'm sure that Jennings knew yesterday that, he was getting this reworked deal. They probably had it agreed to yesterday, if I had to take a guess, hence why he was back at practice. So he may have actually hurt his calf. It probably wasn't anything serious, and he probably could have continued to practice, but he probably wanted to hold out to kind of express his frustrations with the contract. But yeah, this is very good news for the 49ers. They get it done before Sunday, before week 1 in Seattle. I'm sure Jennings is going to be fired up. I'm sure the guys are going to be fired up to have him back. Matt Mayoko just tweeted out, source confirms Jauan Jennings can collect $3 million in playtime incentives this season on the final year of his contract. Per his contract, he received a $3.27 million advance on his scheduled $6.6 million salary in February. His original deal included around $850,000 in per game roster bonuses. So that's pretty interesting there. Yeah, I'm just glad this thing's over, to be completely honest with you. I think, when it comes down to it, I think the 49ers knew that, how important he was going into this season, especially with Brandon Ayuk being out, especially with Jordan Watkins dealing with a high ankle sprain. And Demarcus Robinson, has the suspension for the first few games of the season. Obviously, it was important that Jennings played week 1. It was important that they kept him happy. Kyle Shanahan even said in his press conference earlier that Colton McKivitz and Jauan Jennings were 2 guys that they wanted to keep on this roster for the foreseeable future. So, yeah, just very interesting that this thing, gets done 3-4 days before week 1. It's very deserved. I'm not going to lie. I think even with Jauan Jennings being able to earn up to $10.5 million this year, that's still one of the better wide receiver deals in all of football, especially given the season that Jauan Jennings is coming off of, and the season that he had last year. So, very good news for the Niners. I couldn't be more happier knowing that they have a deal, for the remainder of the season. Now, again, Jennings is a free agent following the season, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's all it took for Jennings to return to practice and to be happy. $3 million in incentives. Why it took as long as it did, I have no idea. Maybe Jennings really wanted what was reported $20 million per year. Drew Rosenhaus could have probably, you know, had him take a step back and been like, look, you're not going to get that this year. You know, I'll negotiate a deal that, pays you more with incentives. And then we can try to push for that $20 million per year number following the season. Maybe that happened. I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense out of all of this. But yeah, again, that's all it took. You know, $3 million in incentives, and Jauan Jennings is back with the 49ers. Um, Here's an interesting tweet before I end this video. Adam Schefter tweeted out as well following the news about them reaching an agreement. He said once Jauan Jennings got healthy and began recovering from his calf injury, negotiations with the 49ers picked up and resulted in an agreement. Jennings turned down a multi-year deal to do a one-year deal and bet on himself. He is scheduled to become a free agent after this season. So honestly, respect for Jauan Jennings for doing that. I'm sure the 49ers probably offered him a multi-year deal, but he probably looked at that APY, and he probably thought, you know what, I'm going to go and ball out this year, and I'm going to, make more money per year, following this season. So got to give him respect. I hope he does. Honestly, I hope he goes out I hope he goes into the year, balls out, and ends up making a lot more than what that multi-year deal the 49ers offered him was, depending on whatever that number, depending on whatever the numbers were, of course. But yeah, big news for the Niners. He's betting on himself with a one-year deal. He's getting $3 million extra dollars in incentives. Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely banking on a big year to cash in next offseason. And you can't hate him for that, right? Like, at the end of the day, I feel like more players around the NFL should do that. Obviously, I understand why there's not a lot of players that do that, but I like that for Jauan Jennings. And again, I hope he does go out and have 1,100 receiving yards, 6-7 touchdowns, and earns that $20 million a year salary. Who knows what'll happen? I'm just glad that he's back. I'm glad they reached an agreement and this thing's over. And now the 49ers can focus solely on football without any other distractions. So let me know what you guys think of this breaking news in the comments down below. Jennings and the 49ers reach an agreement on a reworked deal. Again, it's $3 million in incentives. So instead of him earning $7.5 million this year, he can earn up to $10.5 million. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.